Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of Dexter New Blood Season 1, Episode 8. We are here, and that's 2 days after Christmas. Hope you guys had a really great holiday if you were celebrating.
Yeah, we had a really fun time. We have a bunch of pictures up at our Instagram if you're interested. Matt and Jess TV. It was a really fun time.
So, who got some coal in their stocking in this episode, and why is it Kurt Caldwell? Now, we will talk about Kurt, about Angela, Harrison. There is a lot to get into here as we start to move slowly towards that finish line.
Yep, this episode, listen guys, buckle up. There are some things about this episode that I really wasn't a fan of, but there was one moment that I think is the absolute best moment of the whole series.
That is a teaser, everyone. But before we get into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are here breaking down all things Dexter New Blood moving forward, even if we only have a couple episodes left. Plus, Cobra Kai coming a little later this week.
Yeah, we're going to have a new Cobra Kai review up each day until, we're done with the whole season. And it's going to be starting December 31st. So make sure you hit that subscribe. And if you're watching Cobra Kai, so are we.
All right,
All
where
right,
are we going?
we're going to start with the best
Oh boy.
moment of this episode. And for me, the best moment of this whole season. And that's saying a lot because that Trinity moment was pretty good too.
Yeah.
I loved that last scene with Dexter and Harrison where Dexter finally tells him, listen, I know you have this darkness in you. I have it in me too. You were born in blood. I was born in blood. And my dad taught me a code and I'm going to teach you. And that moment that Harrison just lunged at him and hugged him so tight. There was this moment where Michael C. Hall just also sort of had this look where he was just like, and he leaned into the hug. And you don't see that very often with Dexter. Obviously, he has a extremely hard time making connections with people or being able to really truly love somebody. But there was a moment there that I was like, man, I really see it. It's there. He's made a connection with somebody.
This is the most wholesome moment you're ever going to have for a serial killer and a serial killer adjacent. I mean, I guess we haven't technically seen Harrison kill anyone, but who knows with him?
No, who knows? We don't know. But it was really good. We've been seeing it all season, sort of this push and pull and push and pull, and how hurt Harrison is that he feels so abandoned, even being there with him. He even said in this episode, I came for answers, but I stuck around because I was hoping for something more. I wanted a connection with my dad, with a parent, with anybody. He's just having such a hard time, and finally it was there.
This is sort of the interesting thing about this episode. And I say interesting in a way where I love where we got with Dexter and Harrison at the end of this episode. I think this is a moment we've all been waiting for. However, this is where I put the ... I don't know if I really enjoyed every single piece that got us there. It felt like there was a lot of issues with the whole Kurt confrontation that got us to this moment that we were all satisfied with.
There were some problems in this episode, and I say that as someone who has really enjoyed this season. So before y'all get into the comments and be like, you're too critical of this show, I have really enjoyed this season. I love Dexter. It's one of my favorite shows. I mean, I didn't love the finale, of course, nobody did, but this has been a really good sort of revival of the show. But this episode, oh, woof, it did not do it for me. There were some problems. Where do you want to start with the problems? Kurt?
Let's start with Kurt since we're here.
Okay, so we started this whole episode with Dexter being captured by one of Kurt's men who is seemingly a really good hunter, but it took him all day to be able to get to Dexter. All day. This guy who's like this master tracker hunter hit him first shot right in the leg, bleeding everywhere. Dexter can barely run. This guy didn't run after him one time. He just like Terminator walked through the whole forest and just didn't like, it just took him so long to get anywhere near him that I just didn't believe it.
Here's my funny explanation for what's going on here, because really, there is no actual explanation other than just it makes no sense. But here's the funny explanation. This guy is getting paid by the hour, and eventually he started getting into the overtime pay, and he's just like, I'm just gonna wander my way through this. I want that like 3 times bonus because we're getting close to Christmas.
Yeah, it took way too long, especially since we saw at the very beginning, he made that first shot. Like, he didn't take him down where it was a shot in the leg that took him down, but he made that first shot. So he could have, after all day or even half the day of chasing Dexter down, he could have ran after him and got him, and it would have been done.
Okay, Hunter guy, you suck. We can all sort of agree on that. At least you suck at your job. I mean, I'm glad you didn't kill Dexter or anything. But okay, here's the big fundamental problem I sort of have with Kurt's whole plan here to, make sure that Harrison is dead in front of Dexter. To me, I think it's more effective if you're Kurt to just pull Harrison away from Dexter and make Harrison sort of your own proxy son. Like, that's where I thought a lot of this was going, because Dexter, he already exists in a world of death and destruction. He's already lived a life where his son is absent and gone. And, I'm just maybe offering up my own commentary here, but to me, it feels like it would be way more painful for Dexter if Kurt really was just like, have some venison here, son, and continues to be like buddy and parades around Iron Lake with him, and Dexter has to see that constantly. Like, I think that would even hurt worse.
I think it would hurt way worse. The thing is that I don't think that Kurt is capable. It just feels like it's just such an act. Here's the baseball, son. Here's some, venison, son. Let's make the fire and have some bourbon, son. But none of it, he just doesn't, I don't think he's capable of actually feeling that or keeping it up long enough. And that's part of the problem. The other part of his plan that was a problem is that he wanted to, a son for a son. You killed my son, I'm going to kill your son, and I'm going to make you watch, sort of thing. Harrison, throughout this whole series, has said that his father abandoned him, doesn't care about him. Since he's been back at Iron Lake, he's made no connection with him. And Kurt knows it, that there's no connection there. Even when they're having that dinner together, and Harrison explains, I came here for more. I thought, I came here for questions. I wanted some answers. And then I wanted more. And it never came. My father doesn't care about me at all. He is not there for me at all. That's the moment that Kurt's like, oh, I'm really going to hurt Dexter. Then I'm going to go and put on my mask, even though he knows who I am. I'm right here having dinner with you. That was so weird. He really didn't need to do it. But whatever, that's fine. But it just didn't make any sense. Even when he went outside and he was like, run. Oh, here he comes. Bring him over. I want him to see me kill his son that he doesn't care about. It was just kind of like, this is really thin.
Okay. I'm guessing that, and I don't know why Kurt would do this, but I'm guessing this might have been what he was doing, where he's just sort of like, he got this idea in his head pretty early on once he sort of figured out that Dexter was the one responsible for what happened to Matt. And rather than sort of listen to anything either one of us are suggesting here when it comes to an alternative, I think Kurt must have just been like, I'm going to kill this kid. I'm going to get him in this position. I'm going to put on my Killer Jones outfit, which is going to be what I call this, because he clearly seems to think this is like some sort of alter ego. This is like his Batman suit.
Yeah, I mean, it seems that all the serial killers on the show have something.
Yeah, and so he's got to get on his Killer Jones outfit. He's got to make all this happen. He's got to make his big, elaborate showcase, and apparently it never came inside of Kurt's head that at any point Dexter could actually have control of this vehicle or something could go terribly awry with this rather intricate plan.
It was also a bit strange to me that Kurt decided to bring him back to his cabin. I mean, it was only like an episode ago that like his whole cabin got basically burned. Everybody knows that there's a problem going up there. Molly knows, Dexter knows, Angela knows, everybody knows. Even he knows that it's burned. He had to move everything out of that room and destroy all the evidence. I get that he's still going to use his cabin for himself. But if there's multiple people that know or suspect that something was going on up there, you're going to bring Harrison back there? It was just such a strange choice.
I think this is the biggest thing I've learned from Dexter New Blood this time around. I don't understand Kurt Caldwell, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe if I understood Kurt Caldwell, I would be in a very bad place.
Maybe he's spiraling a little bit. I mean, it felt like he felt like he was in control of that situation. But yeah, bringing him back to the burned cabin, I was kind of like, ooh, why?
Here's another question I have for you, Kurt.
Go to the abandoned campsite. Everybody's going there and killing people.
Who wants to break into their old school? Like, you know what I was never like at any point in my life? Hey, I'm not at school. What do I want to do? Break into school? It's like, that's not a place where fun happens. That's a place where you're getting, like, beaten up and stuffed into a locker and things like that. I don't want to go there.
It was a really important, good scene, though, to see Harrison taking those baseballs where he is sort of punishing himself, feeling like he's, not worth anything, and sort of seeing a lot of this was a very good development episode for Harrison.
Yeah, and I think they did a good job of ultimately getting us to this really interesting place now where it's like Dexter and Harrison versus Kurt, who's still very much out there. I'm assuming he's going to stop wandering through the woods at some point here.
Yeah, I was also kind of surprised that Dexter ran over, hugged his kid. You okay? Yep. Just a minute is what I was expecting. And to watch him go bombing off, hurt leg or not, after Kurt. Kurt is not in the greatest shape. He's kind of lumbering around. Just got rolled over by a car. I mean, why wouldn't you just grab him?
Yeah, because at this point, you're giving him a chance to sort of recharge, and clearly Kurt's got other people he can sort of depend on here. You don't know how crazy this guy's gonna get. Clearly he's got like some sniping skills. He could just try to take you out in the middle of town or something crazy like that.
Yeah, and he's got a network of people, and people in town really trust him. I mean, he's got people working for him that are willing to kidnap Dexter for him. I mean, he's got a lot of resources.
You know what would have made this whole episode better? More Logan. Logan's my guy now. I've established that I love Logan.
No, he's great. And less Molly. No, Molly.
Yeah, like that was a real victory. How is it that this episode had the issues that it had, and it didn't make us sit through Molly talking about herself at all?
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to the part of the episode that just like made my head shake, which is all the stuff with Angela. What the hell? Okay, let's get into this. So she has...
Here we go. Here we go.
Okay. So she decided after Logan came to her and was like, oh, by the way, Dexter was beating up Miles, the drug dealer, because, this guy tried to, kill his son. And she took this leap then to be like, okay, I'm going to have to go talk to this drug dealer then. It's just like, why? It makes complete sense that Dexter would be this pissed off that his son almost got killed by this guy. But no, she goes to his drug dealer. He's like, look at my neck. There's a hole in my neck still. I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, we're here. Then this is the part where it really starts to unravel for me. She decides then to go to the guy who was making the drugs, where it looked like he had this overdose. Yeah. She goes to the pathologist lab. He's laying on the table, and she's like, looks at his neck, and there's this big glaring hole in his neck that the pathologist completely missed. She actually asked him, oh, well, is there anything funny about this? Do you notice anything strange? No, I didn't notice anything. And she's the one who just pulls open his neck, is like, well, what is this kind of thing? It's just like, listen, I'm a former funeral director. I wasn't necessarily trained to look for strange things as I would clean or prepare the body, but even I would have noticed a giant hole in the side of somebody's neck. There is no way that this pathologist was like, no, there's nothing weird. That hole in his neck, who knows? Could be anything. Come on. Come on.
Here's my funny explanation, because once again, I have no legitimate explanation for this. The pathologist here, listen, the holidays are coming.
Was also, injecting himself with ketamine?
They may have injected himself with a little ketamine, or maybe he just drank a lot of eggnog, and then at a certain point, they're just like, I want to get home. I just want to get this over with. Clearly, not a lot of effort is being put into this. Also, let's talk about the Iron Lake PD here for a minute. Do you guys have nothing? Does Angela have nothing else going on right now, or she's just like, I really got to crack this case, and this is like the only thing on her mind?
My guess is, and this makes some sense, is that obviously he lied to her about being Jim and that he's actually Dexter, but he gave her enough truth that she could have followed up on easily to know that this is truth. And it was quite a story, and it was quite a detailed story that should have been enough at that point. However, he lied to her, and he lied to her about some big things. However, to make the jump that we're going to all of a sudden bring back the Bay Harbor Butcher, oh my God, please let this story just stop. It doesn't need to be brought up over and over and over again throughout all of the Dexter series. Like, let's have some new, fresh stuff.
You guys have new blood in the name. It's right there. But this is the real issue I have with a lot of this stuff with Angela, is that this is a very short season. This is only 10 episodes. And if I remember right, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, I feel like the other Dexter seasons were a little bit longer than this. And it feels like they are sort of rushing through a lot of things here at the end, and it feels to me almost like Angela digging in to Dexter. There needed to either be a couple of episodes of this, or maybe if we had a season 2 where Dexter was for sure still around, maybe you could explore it a little bit more then. But it sort of feels like, I don't know if Michael C. Hall only wanted to do 10 episodes. We don't know what's going to happen to Dexter at the end, but that there was this real sort of thirst that everyone involved had to be like, okay, we got to go back to Miami. Dexter's got to potentially take the fall for this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, real life, things are messy. Real life, not everything gets tied up in a neat and tidy little bow. I mean, the Bay Harbor Butcher could have just stayed in the ocean with all of those trash bags.
Okay, also, you're gonna look up ketamine?
Yeah.
Miami Metro.
Yeah.
And it's going to immediately bring up the Bay Harbor Butcher. It was so unbelievable. I looked that up, and I'm aware that I'm not going to get the Bay Harbor Butcher. Yeah. But what I actually thought that I was going to get was some clinics, which is what I got in the Miami metro area to help people with addiction. There was a couple of drug cases, but what I actually also thought I was going to end up getting was some Dexter wiki fan stuff. If this was really a connection, there probably would have been something. But really what came up was like help and clinics to help people that are having problems and addiction problems. It did not bring up, some serial killer case, and it wasn't going to, but it made me feel like it was not going to bring up that with those keywords. It was such a thin stretch that I just can't believe it. And it makes me so sad because I love the season. I've enjoyed it so much. That last moment with Harrison, 10 out of 10, so good. But this stuff with Angela, there were so many different ways they could have gone with her story after she figured out that he's Dexter.
Yeah.
It did not have to go to the Bay Harbor Butcher, honestly. Like, they really needed to, stop with the same horse.
Yeah, I just feel like if you were going to go here, you needed to at least give us some time with something else. And it just taking this big of a leap this fast, it really feels like, okay, you guys are just cramming in for the finale, and they really want, because we've seen this in the past with Dexter seasons where it feels like by the time you're in like the second to last episode or the last episode, you've got like 8 different ways that this whole situation could go wrong for Dexter. And now it's like, okay, here we have Dexter and Harrison battling Kurt, and that's obviously going to be one big threat, but he doesn't know the extent of what's going on with Angela, so this is another threat, and which one of these will be resolved further? And it's like, don't get me wrong, I love chaos, just like pour the bucket of chaos on my head, but at the same time, I don't want to actually be drowning in chaos, and if I am, it better make complete sense, and I don't know if it is yet.
I would have much rather see Angela continuing to dig into Kurt.
Yeah.
That would have made more sense. That would have been more interesting to me, because then it would have been a race between Angela and then we got Dexter over here trying to get to Kurt. And we've seen that throughout Dexter already in, the first 8 seasons, where we would have Dexter and Deb fighting to get towards, the bad guy.
Yeah.
And then Dexter would typically snatch them up, and that would be that, and Deb would be like, what happened, sort of thing. So we could have had something more like that instead of this, because we've also seen this theme where everybody seems to figure out at the last minute that he's the Bay Harbor Butcher, and it's kind of like, this case is 10 years old, like it's done, like let's all move into something else.
I've got one more beef here about this episode, and this will be a recurring theme, everyone, until it's finally brought up again. Where is Olsen? You guys spent so much time on this creepy old dude. It's like, where have you guys just shipped him off and like to the land of forgotten characters with Aster and Cody, and we're just like never gonna see this guy again at this point?
Yeah, and right now, at this point, I don't know what the purpose of him was, except to have that little scene at the beginning with, Angela's daughter protesting him. And it's just kind of like, what? I think he's still going to show up, and they're going to jam him in at the end. And I think he's the person that's receiving the bodies after Kurt is done with them. That is what I think is happening. And I think if there was going to be a season 2, that then maybe it would be about him, because if Kurt is gone and he's no longer able to supply bodies over here to Olsen, then Olsen's story changes a little bit, and maybe we could have Harrison going after Olsen. But they needed to at least have him around town, kind of doing he is forgotten.
Yeah. Nobody's even bringing him up at this point, and this is a bummer to me, because he's like the Logan Roy of Iron Lake, and just to jam another Succession reference in there. But anyway, what did you guys think about? I'm about to say Succession. What do you guys think about Dexter New Blood season 1, episode 8? Give us your thoughts on why the story went in this particular direction, and also hit that like button, subscribe for more updates, especially Cobra Kai coming later this week.
Yeah.
We will see you guys here next time.